Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news Monday morning for the Oklahoma Sooner fans as Kevin Johns getting brought in as an offensive analyst. And this is news that I think primarily going to fly under the radar, according to the national media, some casual college football fans. But I think this is a phenomenal hire for Oklahoma heading into 2024 for a couple of different reasons. One, I think Kevin Johns is a phenomenal football coach, specifically developing that quarterback spot. Quite frankly, I'm surprised Kevin Johns does not have an offensive coordinator job heading into 2024. Did a phenomenal job at Duke working with Riley Leonard. And then the second reason I think this is such a massive hire is you're seeing Brent Venables identify Jackson Arnold as a quarterback that, hey, we can win a lot of football games with. We have to pour our resources into developing Jackson Arnold to reach that potential. This is a guy that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, going back to his high school days as being a quarterback that has special traits. And if he puts it together, you're looking at a quarterback that can do some special things for Oklahoma over the next couple of years. And a guy like Kevin Johns is going to go a long way in developing a quarterback like Jackson Arnold. Really excited to get into Kevin Johns. Before we do, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And y'all know how much I love talking about this Sooners program, whether we're talking recruiting trail, coaching hires, position deep dives. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with the fit in terms of the offensive staff. If there was one question that you had with Seth Littrell coming in as your offensive coordinator, the question would probably be, all right, how is he going to develop quarterbacks? Seth Littrell has a very strong resume as a football coach, not necessarily as a quarterbacks coach. And so you look at Kevin Johns coming in to kind of supplement what Seth Littrell is going to do and be that quarterback guru in that offensive staff that is really going to get the most out of Jackson Arnold. You take a look back and look at some of the quarterbacks that Kevin Johns has worked with in the past. Go back to his time at Memphis, right? Worked with Brady White, who put back-to-back seasons throwing for over 3,000 yards at Memphis. And then the next year in 2021, takes a true freshman in Seth Hennigan, who throws for over 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. The track record with working with quarterbacks extremely strong at Memphis, gets the job at Duke, works with a quarterback in Riley Leonard, who came in as a 3-star prospect out of the state of Alabama and comes in and kind of lights the world on fire in 2022. And I get it got shaky in 2023. One, Riley Leonard banged up for most of that season, that whole Duke offense dealing with some injuries. I thought Kevin Johns did a really good job navigating the lack of talent and the kind of the depletion of that Duke depth chart in 2023. I was surprised that Mike Elko didn't take Kevin Johns with him to Texas A&M. I think he's been phenomenal for Mike Elko the last 2 years. And you all of a sudden have, in my mind, a phenomenal coach that is a free agent, didn't get any offensive coordinator hires, which again, I think is absolutely wild. And Oklahoma swoops in and grabs him as an offensive analyst, who I think has a massive impact on this Oklahoma offense heading into 2024. And the next storyline you want to talk about, and this is how I go about evaluating a lot of coaching hires. And I go and look back at, all right, what do other coaches seem to think of Kevin Johns? Right? Kevin Johns was hired by Cliff Kingsbury in 2018 to come and coach Texas Tech. Now, did it necessarily work out for Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech? No, it did not. But the fact that Cliff Kingsbury looked at Kevin Johns and said, yeah, I think that's a really good offensive mind, I'm going to bring him in. You can knock Cliff Kingsbury for a lot of different things as a coach. One thing you can't knock him for is the offensive mind. And the fact that Cliff Kingsbury thinks so highly of Kevin Johns, and then Kevin Johns getting that year to work with Cliff Kingsbury, learning from him, I think that's massive experience. Then you go to Memphis. I mean, Mike Norvell, you talk about how good of a job he's done at Florida State, making hires, even going back to his time in Memphis. Mike Norvell, a phenomenal offensive mind in and of itself. And he hires Kevin Johns to come into Memphis. He absolutely crushes it for 3 years and then gets the job at Duke. The track record for Kevin Johns the last 5 years has been extremely strong. And again, that's probably why I'm so surprised he's not an offensive coordinator at some Power 5 program. And I think this is a brilliant job by Brent Venables identifying a really good football coach and bringing him in. And I think the offensive analyst is a perfect fit for him at Oklahoma because, again, is he necessarily the best recruiter? No, probably not. But he's a guy that is a very good football coach, is going to implement and help Jackson Arnold develop into a quarterback that I think is going to be special in Norman for the next couple of years. And that's kind of how you tie a bow on this conversation. And I think you've seen Brent Venables in the transfer portal really work on building this offense around Jackson Arnold, right? We had questions about the offensive line. Brent Venables gets extremely aggressive, bringing an offensive lineman. You want to give him as many weapons on the outside as he can to work with. You go and get a guy in Deion Burks. I think Brent Venables has had an offseason goal of, hey, how can we best put Jackson Arnold in a spot to be successful? And he's done it with the personnel. And I think he does it with the offensive coaching staff, bringing in Kevin Johns. And again, a storyline that I think probably flies under the radar to a lot of college football fans and a lot of national media members. I think this is a really strong hire for Oklahoma. Extremely excited to see what Kevin Johns can do with a quarterback that is talented as Jackson Arnold. And this is not a knock on guys like Brady White, Riley Leonard, Seth Hennigan, some of the quarterbacks that he's worked with the past couple of years. Jackson Arnold blows those guys out of the water in terms of the talent that he has, in terms of what he can do as a quarterback in an offense. Can't wait to see the impact of this one. A sneaky, phenomenal hire by Brent Venables. Spring ball starting up pretty soon. Really excited to follow some storylines for the Sooners. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.